Hello and welcome to our Sallay International Academy and our Open House 2023. My name is Anna Kadiva. I'm the school principal, and I'm here today with our lead of academics, Aloka Molokova. Aloka, hi. Yeah, you're muted, but whatever. So we are happy to see you here today. I'm gonna quickly tell you why you came here and what we're up for. So first of all, I'm gonna tell a little about what our school is, how we work, and why we are, what's our specifics. Quick spoiler, it's called Blended Learning School, and we're gonna tell you more about why it is so cool. Then Aloka will tell us about, we'll present a case study on a gifted student of ours. Further on, I'm gonna tell about a case of a student come from a family on move. And then Aloka will present a case of a twice exceptional student. Moving on, Aloka will do a quick recap. We'll say a couple words about our curriculum, hopefully, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions, if any. I mean, all the questions, if any. And finally, we will say a word about the process of admissions and the scholarships we offer this year. And then we'll give you another opportunity to ask the questions. So if you have any questions, please type them here in chat, in Zoom chat, if you joined us via Zoom, following the registration link, in comments on Facebook or whatever other social media you're watching this at, or if you'll be watching the video recorded, the recording of this event, please feel free to ask any questions. We will still reach out and answer on all of them. We are a blended learning school, which means that we are a blended learning international middle school. So middle school means that we work with students starting from the age of 10 and up to the time when they have to go to high school. And this time is actually different depending on the country where they come from, or rather on a country where they are planning to pursue their school education. For students who are aiming to pass the A levels, GCSE, and continue in the British system, we are offering a full education until up the age of 16. For students who are continuing in the US, high school usually starts at grade 9, which is the age of 13, 14. So American students leave us earlier than British ones, and all students from all different countries stay with us until different age, depending on where they go further. We are an international school, which means that we have teachers and students from all around the world. We currently have people at school from all different time zones, from Philippines to California, including different Asian and European countries in between, and different US states also that are placed between Atlantic Ocean and California. So the same for the set of teachers who also come from all different backgrounds and different cultures and different countries and different native languages, speak different native languages. And finally, we are a blended learning school. And when we say blended, that's not very clear, because actually that's a term that's defined differently by different educational professionals. So what we do and the way we work is we combine on-site sessions, which is basically, I would say, the closest, well, it's just like boarding school experience. So students come on site, they live in the chateau that you just saw a picture of. They stay here for 3 weeks fully boarded, fully accommodated, and taught by all the teachers who also come on site from all their different countries. They spend 3 weeks like this in the beginning of the school year and then go home and study with the same students, with the same groups, with the same teachers, following the same curriculum from home, online, in small groups of 7 people max. Then, before the Christmas break in the end of November, people come back to the on-site session, spend 3 weeks together, and leave home. And so we have a total of 12 weeks on-site, 12 weeks of boarding school experience, and the rest is online and different kind of breaks. We are a school that is good for, good is a weird word. I would say we are a school that, in our experience, matches different types of people, different types of students, and generally students who come from different families and have different backgrounds. So today we're gonna present a few cases and hopefully make it more clear to whom we might be a good match and how we can be beneficial to you, to your kid, to your friends, to your neighbors, to your I don't know who, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions. So please watch the video of our head of humanities, Melinda Rice, talking about how of her experience teaching online and teaching in a blended environment with us.
So how do I teach online? It's always a question that comes up because it's such a new form of teaching. Everybody knows what a traditional classroom looks like, but the common view is that online teaching is less effective. And in my experience, I found it actually is very effective, depending on the students. There are a couple of advantages. One is that you have chat, and you can ask them questions. You can get feedback, sort of do these informal assessments, like ask them a question, true or false, and everybody types in, true or false. And there are ways of doing that in a traditional classroom, but I just find that chat is often a very nice way for them to practice their spelling and to give you immediate feedback. But the other thing online that works really well is the breakout rooms. And that is something that is simply not possible at all in a traditional classroom. Because you can put a kid, they're at home in their own comfortable private space where they feel safe. You put them in a room by themselves and you come and check in on them. And the difficulty is, they are kind of off on their own. So you do have to keep an eye on them, depending on the kid. But some are very independent and can work independently much better without the distractions of kids moving around them, shuffling papers, tapping on the table, all of those things, particularly for kids who are either on the autistic spectrum or just find themselves easily distracted by noises or people. That is incredibly effective. The other thing I found that you can be really creative online with the kinds of teaching you do. So some of my lessons include, we've used Jamboard, which is an app on Google, and they created a Roman town, or they created a medieval manor. And that's been really nice because the goal of teaching, whether you're online or in person, is that it's active learning. So you give them a framework and then you give them an activity, and they learn through doing, Nobody learns through just listening. There has to be a certain amount of listening, but you definitely want to reduce the amount of time that you're lecturing. You want to make it so that they are actually sorting things, making choices. And it also makes the time go by really quickly. I know that my classes have gone well when a student says, wait, we're done? Because they're not looking at the clock, which is exactly what you want. So you can do a lot of really creative things using the tools that are available online. The other thing that I did when we recently taught the Renaissance is I had them define the Renaissance. We'd worked on it. It's a really tough concept, I think, for 6th, 7th graders. And they had a pretty good feel for what it was. And then I had them work on, you have 15 minutes, create a meme that defines the Renaissance, right? And they did pretty well. It was fun. They were a little confused at first, what do we do? But find an image that contrasts, the Middle Ages with how the Renaissance is different. Because that's the goal of history. It's change over time. And we're trying to explain the how and the why, and why it matters, right? Why do we care? I often ask that question in history classes, like, I'm teaching you this, and now I want you to step back and answer the question, why do we care? What difference does it make? And that always throws students a little bit. The online teaching has a lot of advantages. And I think what's ideal for us at Sallay is that we also then get to do the things in person that you cannot do online, right? So there are certain things that work better in person, right? Certainly when we did, with the earliest, youngest group, we did ancient history, and you start with hunter-gatherers. And because we've got this wonderful space with the chateau outside, we were able to have them replicate hunting and gathering. And some of the counselors played mastodons, and some of the kids joined together as a band to hunt them. And that kind of thing, obviously, you can't do online. So that was super fun. But online teaching, I think, gets a bad reputation, in part because we're just all so new at it. It's just a big field of experimentation. But it also means we get to be really creative, and we get to really evaluate what works. And it's pretty obvious quickly what's going to work online and what's not. And I think all of our teachers here are just brilliant at finding ways to make that work.
Thank you, Mindy, I guess. And I would like to pass the word to Aloka, who is going to tell about one of our students, and then we're going to watch a video recording of his mom commenting on the same situation.
Hi, so I'm here to tell stories today, stories that we say are pretty good examples of what we do and what we're able to provide in school. Since we say a lot that we really try to provide individualized tracks for each student that comes to us. And sometimes it's easy, say, and obvious when a student comes, say, a 12-year-old or 11-year-old. And generally, all their knowledge are at whatever grade they were, say grade level. But we have a lot of cases, and actually more and more we notice that the more we go forward, the more kids like that show up. And there are cases when, like this one in particular that I want to present, is a student who came to us actually on the older side. He was 15 already, so basically that meant that he would spend only 1 year, ended up spending 2 years in school. And this student was, his background was a very academically advanced math school. So the student was so advanced in math that basically he was already studying at the high school level, the math that he could do. And his level of math was basically higher than any of our kids in school at the moment. And that was the situation with math. And we were sure that we have to provide the math that at the level that he studies at right now. So none of the existing groups would work for him because this is already easy. He's already over those. On the other side, that student was not a native English speaker. So his first language was different, and they were in the process of immigration from one country to another. They immigrated to Spain, and he also didn't speak Spanish at the time and didn't speak that much of an English when he came to our school. He knew some, but of course, since it's not native, that was a problem since he's already 15. It's the level of material in, say, humanities is pretty high for the students who are 15. It's pretty sophisticated already, but the language there is pretty sophisticated. So that was a problem for him, of course. So on the one hand, he was very advanced in math. On the other hand, humanities, say, he was not a big fan of humanities in the first place. but also he struggled with English there. So we had to deal with that. And that's say when the younger student comes to us at the age of 10 and they struggle with English, what we normally do is we can, provide a lot of, ESL classes for the student, or put them in a lower, at a level, English level group. But for this person, it didn't make sense because all the lower levels were very young students. So it didn't make sense to put a 15-year-old, say, with 10-year-olds, because even though that was his level of English. So what we ended up developing for him for his first year, we basically put up a separate math group for him specifically, and developed a curriculum for the year for him to address his strong sides in math, to make it at a level that he really is at the moment. So we did that part. Our math teachers are usually very excited about those opportunities to build something new. And humanities, though, that was a challenge. What we ended up doing, he still joined the group of students around his age. But we did a lot of arrangements for this very group. And the teacher developed the support system for this student. The support system looked like they picked up books, say, they were not an easy language, but she was picking up books, keeping in mind that he would be one of the students who would be reading those. And she provided the long lists of specific vocabulary for the student in order for him to fully participate in the class. So he had an access, and history, in literature and history as well, he had an access to the whole vocabulary for the class. So he could look at it more, and he wouldn't struggle in the class just because he doesn't know, enough terms. So he did that part. He also had several interventions with kind of extra classes of supporting him and looking at what he's doing right now at the moment, and in which classes he's struggling with particular things. Generally, the student was super determined, super motivated. He was the one, who would do extra job even when he's not asked for it, and it certainly helped. In science, though he's all STEM oriented, when he started already, and he was also in an advanced group, we found out that actually in his previous education, he lacked some of the concepts. Apparently, either they were not covered in his previous school or something like that. So we also had to address that, since the students who were there in that group before already covered those. So we also kind of make an individualized, plan there. So he would cover all those individually, and we'll still be able to study with a group. So the student, and the most, I think fascinating part of it for me is that, as I said, the family moved to Spain, and he didn't have any Spanish at all at that moment. So our school's in English, and it wasn't an issue, but at some point he would have to go to the Spanish school. So we started the whole new group in Spanish as a foreign language, Spanish from scratch for beginners. But the Spanish teacher had a specific goal in mind for this very student, not just to, learn Spanish in general, but with a specific goal in mind that this student would need to continue his education in Spanish, most likely. And by this point, we made it possible. So by this point, of course, his dedication helped a lot there. But by this point, we built this, the whole Spanish learning for him in the way that he would feel better in a Spanish-speaking environment as well. And we were able to provide that for him. And generally, this story is one of the examples, and the result of it. What happened for the student is, even though he spent 2 years with us, he got the quality of education that he might have not, that he didn't really have access to at the moment. So he really got all the advanced math that he really needed to get, and other subjects as well. He basically learned Spanish to a level that he's comfortable being in a Spanish-speaking environment, which was a side goal, but we are very happy that it happened for him. And right now, we're pretty sure that he's able to continue his education in an international school. So this is one story. And I think it's a good example of, how we did it in a very individualized way for him.
Further, a 15-year-old student from the Ukraine joined Sallay Academy with full scholarship in March 2022. Further has a strong academic background, excels in math, and has advanced reasoning and problem-solving skills. Unfortunately, having previously attended non-English language school, the student struggled with following the advanced humanities curriculum in English.
Very much grateful to everyone in Sallay. It's what I feel and what I see from my son. It is very important. He is treated like an equal person. He's treated like he's important. His thoughts, his feelings, his emotions. And this is not just about that, new trend in education. This is what the teachers, the tutors really do. And now, after having this experience, of course, my son wants to get more. He knows that he can get more in this life and in this under these circumstances and this community. And this level of self-confidence in him, the huge part of this self-confidence was built thanks to the school. Certainly there were a lot of challenges when he joined the community of Sallay school. First one was the language of education, because he used to study in Ukrainian, and English language was not the prime language of his studies, of the disciplines, of the tuition. The system of education, it is blended one, and it was very unusual. Not actually very unusual, because due to COVID, we all got used to study online and remotely, and it was not absolutely new for him. But maybe for a 14 boy, it was like a shock. I'm not sure, but still, he accepted this challenge. Hard times were during spring, but I think that it was a mixture of emotional and mental and state and physical one. But starting autumn, it was an absolute pleasure for him to study in Sallay, absolute pleasure. Despite of some maybe difficulties or some classes, I don't know. But emotionally, he enjoyed it, every single minute being part of Sallay. This process was very fluent and very, very balanced one, and without any additional pressure, or without any reproaches, or without any additional mentoring. And due to high level of English for all the teachers, I think it helped a lot further to improve his level of English as well. All the teachers, they are apart from being, I'm sure, brilliant specialists in their disciplines, they are rather fluent speakers, and it helped a lot for him to accept all this and to reach up his vocabulary and to break this stop factor of speaking English and express his thoughts in English and write in English and read in English. Yes, it's very important. He has passed the proficiency test in English, because we are now preparing the documents to join some bachelorate here as a further education. And what I see is, and the test showed that he has very definite B2 or even at some points C1. La Sallay school provides very balanced model of life. This is not only the importance of studying or academics. No, this is not only about the spiritual or some emotional development, like, for example, in some Waldorf schools or religious ones. This is a wonderful mixture that fluently is getting the child to a real life. Like, I now see that my son is prepared to accept challenges. He is not afraid to study. He is not afraid to express himself, to ask questions, and he's motivated to learn more, to go deeper in some points that he's interested in. And if it is important for parents to have this life study balance for their child, I think La Sallay is the best choice. And what is important, the community of parents and the community of children is a very healthy one, without toxic people, without any, bullying or something like that. This is not the school where it is possible. And I think that after a year in school, I may judge like this.
Thank you for this video. This was Yura Feather's mom, and we are moving on with our open house and little case presentation. So I would like to talk about one student who is not a student of Leslie's Academy anymore, but who was a very interesting, and I would say in a way extreme case of a kid who came from a moving family. Last year we were shortlisted as a best school for relocations, like best school for people who are moving from one country to another, and this is something we're generally very proud of. And there was this one very specific case that made it clear to me that we really are a good fit for this kind of people. So we had a student who was, I think, 12, if I remember correctly, years old when he first joined Sallay, and he spoke English very well, although it was not his native tongue, and we didn't get it from the beginning, but he had some, he was okay as a student. He was studying well. He had, average grades. Everything was okay. Everything was fine with him, but then we noticed that he had troubles establishing relationship with his peers and actually with teachers as well. So it turned out that he came from a family where one of his parents worked in the oil industry in some big corporation at some high managing position. And due to this job, I think it was some kind of audit job or something like that, they would move, the family would move every few months to a new country. He would come to the on-site session from Moscow. He would go there, from there to Texas. He would go from there to the on-site session, and then he would go from there to I don't remember what was, I don't know, Dubai or something. I mean, it was just like Morocco. Like every new travel was a travel to a new place for him. And whenever he was asked, hey, where do you come from? He was like, I don't get your question. And then people would say, like, where's your home? And he was like, I don't know, I don't have one. Which is a very, I would say, generally disturbing and unstable situation for a student. But people live their lives and they live their professional lives, and not always the comfort of the child should be, can be, or is considered to be a top important priority in life decisions that people take. And that's absolutely okay, and that's a regular situation. But this kid would never build relationship with people because he never had people who would stay in his life for more than a few months. So if you're not gonna see this person ever again, who cares, right? Why invest in the human relationship? You don't care. If your school curriculum changes every few months, whatever, you just have to not fail the upcoming test. Like, what global vision, what kind of, curriculum, whatever are we talking about? If life is just like such a changing thing and you're just 12, right? So Sallay turned to be the first experience in his life ever when he would have to learn, and he actually nailed it, to build long-term relationship with his peers or build sustainable relationship with adults around him, or study one subject and know that he would have the same teacher and topics would be in line and would make sense, and there would be some logical connection and transition in between them. And it's been like the first time in his life ever when he's got this experience, which was pretty stunning, I would say, for him. And then a few months later, a few on-site sessions later, we noticed that he also became more independent, more confident. He became more calm in a good way, of not in terms of like more quiet, but kind of more relaxed, more, sure, less anxious. And he thrived. He thrived academically as well. It turned out that he was talented and extraordinary and could benefit from getting all kind of constant feedback was something that he needed. And he would say, my life changes all the time, but I always just come back to Sallay, and that's such a great thing I have. It's just so consistent. And I mean, of course, he was taught, he never used the word consistent, but I forgot what was his wording. So they would say, yeah, that's what he would say, that's so great. I come to Sallay as some people come home. And so it became like a grounding spot for him, starting point, which was, I would say, very impressive and very valuable for us as well. And we had a lot of students ever since. We had a lot of them before, and we had a lot of students ever since who would change the country where they live in the middle of the school year, who would change the country and the time zone completely in the middle of the school year, who would go from Italy to Argentina and then back to Israel. I know Italy is not Israel, who would go to Mexico for a couple of weeks and then stay there for a couple of months, whose families would have to relocate in the middle of the school year or between school years or anything like that. And it is a big thing when a student doesn't have to change the school, because school is generally the main thing. Well, I mean, in terms of time spent on it, dedicated to this activity, going to school is generally the main thing people of 12, 13, whatever, 14 years old usually do. The same way as the main thing we do is go to the job, go to work. And so, yeah, so it turned out that this consistency and this support and this, well, I can say this, openness that and acceptance to this kind of cases that we provided Sallay turned out to be really valuable for so many students. Approximately half of our students this year have changed the country of their life at least once during the time that they are studying in Sallay, which is a pretty big percent of people. And we're good with working with that. And if your kid is about to change the country where they live, the city where they live, the country where they live, the whole environment of the place where they live, the language that is spoken around, but they can keep their classmates, their friends, their teachers, and their studies consistent, that's a big advantage and that's a big support for them. So it seems to be important to talk about it from my side as well. Yeah, Alokhan, would you tell us about twice exceptional students and how we work with them?
Yeah, sure. Twice exceptional students is another, another, say, type of students that we really, that we know how to work with and that we welcome at our school. And those are the students, well, they have, I would say, some specifics. And those students, though we do kind of call them twice exceptional, which means that they're gifted and talented on one hand, but there's their development is not a straight line. It has like this spike. So they're gifted and talented in one thing, and then it drops, and they have some kind of learning difficulty on the other hand. And it comes at the same time as a package. So you're gifted in one thing, and then you have some specific problem with learning. And those kids, though there is this term twice exceptional for those kids, but honestly, those kids, I mean, I've never seen any twice exceptional kids. I've never seen a two that would be alike. They're all really different, and each student like that is a new case and a new challenge for way. So I actually thought about one case, but just last minute I thought about the other one. So I think I'll really quickly tell about two, because they're really different, but both of them are kind of twice exceptional. So one case is was this student who was actually incredibly gifted and he's just generally a very bright, great guy, incredibly talented in all kind of problem solving, and also very talented, linguistically, I'd say. I mean, the how he speaks, the way, even when you hear him speak, and like what kind of expressions he's using, and these kind of things. He was just, I mean, amazing, unbelievable in that. At the same time, the same kid has dyslexia and dysgraphia at the same time. So the problem for this kind of student in the regular school is, even though, and this is an irony here, that he's actually very good with language. Like, he's amazing with language concepts, with language comprehension, spoken skills are amazing. But the typical way to demonstrate that in a regular school is, well, to write, right? To read and to write. And those are the exact two things that he struggles with. So he actually, for his whole like previous experience, he didn't have a chance to actually use, like there was no ways for him to express that and study, you know, everything that we call humanities in a way that it would be approachable for him. And, you know, the sad part in that students like that learn by this some point that they're just not good at it. Because, well, they struggle with reading and writing means they're just, well, not good with language or humanities, which is a shame because actually addressing those and adjusting the way you instruct those kids, the instruction, the way you work with them, making whatever you do with them approachable for them and empowering them to actually learn, knowing that they have this, you know, special features that they read differently, their brain works differently, and that's totally fine. You just need to, you need to know how your brain works. You need to hack it. And actually it can be done in very incredible ways and have incredible results. Like say dyslexic kids can, some dyslexic kids can see the text in a completely different way, not like we see it. Like they can't read it in a linear way, but the way they see it kind of in 3D is very impressive and actually can be used. So with this particular student, what we did, and by this point, I already think, what's the problem with doing that in every single class? We just adapted all the, like first thing we did, we adapted all the reading materials for them, made sure they're audio versions. Like when it's just about, he need to get the content of whatever the passage or the book that he has to read, this should be just an audio version. He can listen to it and there's would be no problem and he'll thrive because he would grasp it really well. So when that was possible, we just provided that for him. And if he need to provide a text, the moment we realized that he can use, the voice to text feature, the essays that he, writes using that he produces are amazing. I mean, yes, if you give him a pen and paper, you would not see that. He would not be able to do that with it. Like if you just let him use the voice to text feature, I mean, the quality, I would say, like how profound these, texts are is amazing. So we did that, but also understanding that, I mean, most likely since generally knowing that a person can live and thrive with dyslexia, he might face some, formal exams where he would have to write or have to read a text, all kind of things like that. So we were working separately with this guy, with the, we're having special, interventions with him, just giving him, it's kind of a life hacks, developing those with him, like how can he approach a text and just working on this with him. And it would be different that how you would work with the text with a non-dyslexic person. And we're just developing the strategies for him and equipping him. So then when he when he graduates, when he goes out to, out there, that he would not be discouraged by seeing a text, but he would know that, okay, I can do this and that. And I can actually not be, scared or frustrated anymore about, a passage or written text. I know that I can actually handle it. Yes, this is not what I would prefer. I would prefer the audio version, and that would just make things easier. But even if I have to deal with the text, I know that I can do it. So this is one case with this student. And there's actually another case, which is also, I would say, on the one hand, when you describe this kind of person, it would sound like iconic, but actually all of them these people are its own thing. And this is a person of a kid who is incredibly gifted academically in actually across the subjects, but mostly STEM and math. But at the same time, the kid is in the spectrum. So, and any kind of environment for this kid, on the one hand, he's so mathematically advanced that in regular school, the regular math class gets very bored for him really quickly. And what happens if this student like that, the kid like that gets bored, he gets frustrated and overwhelmed and overly, can get overly emotional about that. And it's, well, it all just breaks at that moment. And like he struggles with, socially a lot, partly because of that. And like in this whole situation, it's really hard to handle for them. So being on the one hand advanced mathematically and getting bored really fast, he also getting incredibly overwhelmed in this, in a social situation, like in a class. And we also had him for several years in our school, and the gifted part is actually what we do easily. It was a part of the first case that I mentioned, and we just provide a very advanced curriculum for math for this student, if this is what he's capable of, and we make sure that it's also challenging for him in a way that he definitely doesn't get bored. It's actually interesting for him, and it's, he gets challenged and he enjoys this challenge. He needs this challenge actually to keep going. So we placed him among the advanced groups of students, but at the same time, in a social situation, he really needed help learning to, kind of self-regulate. And it was really a challenge for him to, even sit in the class with other people. And sometimes he spent the whole class actually outside, like behind the door, listening to the class from behind the door, because it was too overwhelming for him to be in the actual class. And he's also in his background, he actually never had an experience of being accepted in a class or being accepted by his peers. And it was always a huge challenge because, he never actually had a chance to reach, those people around him, because he gets overwhelmed too quick, and it's just, he needs to leave pretty much. So we had him, an online part actually for this very kid was kind of a game changer, because during this online part, the student has control over, his own comfort levels there, meaning he can change, he controls the volume level of the students around him. He can even, in the software that we use, if someone's speaking too loud, he can just, change the volume level of a particular person. And he also can change, anything, picture size or something like that, and just minimize all these uncomfortable distraction triggers around him, and just be in the class. And since he was thriving academically, because he was already had all these abilities, and also we were addressing all his, social emotional needs there, his peers were also actually able to see him in a thriving situation. Like, he's actually a very, smart kid, and he's doing great in the class, and it's actually interesting to listen to him. And and a lot of peers around him were like, oh, it's actually fun to hang out with him. Like, it's fun to hear what he's saying. And he never had this experience before. So happened online, when he actually got kind of acknowledged for all that he's both academically and also socially. And when he comes back to the on-site session, they're all the same people. they already had a whole several months online together, and they know him, and they meet him already with like they meet him eager to continue a relationship with him because it was great online, right? So on site, we make sure that this whole environment for him there is also very, accepting. And that was an important part. And we also, of course, establish all kind of supportive things for him, like the routines that help him, like made sure it's not, too demanding for him, also being sensitive to a lot of things. And we do all that. And the greatest, marker for us, the student has already graduated, and their family plan, they ended up deciding that they're all kind of, decisions the family made. And at the end of the day, they decided that he would go to public school in the country where they moved to. And this is the thing, like him going to a public school, in his early age sounded like a nightmare. Like they couldn't have imagined him actually being able to attend a regular public school. And just the fact that right now he's fully adapted to regular public school, high school, have, some relationship there, it's going well with classes, and he's actually doing great, and he's been a pretty happy person there. And that was one of the things that we were able, like this was one case that we were able to accommodate this for him, and that was a big deal for us there. Yeah, so this is the second one.
Thank you. So I suggest watch a short video of our science teacher Evelyn Arimu talking about what she tries to do in her classroom. And then let's pass to the scholarships, admissions, and the questions section.
I'm trying to engage their interest in learning, like that curiosity, you want to engage it. You want to connect fun to teaching. Okay, so for the kite one, we used it to demonstrate pressure, air pressure. You use it to demonstrate motion, and then force. So, and some of the kids, like, they came and said, "Oh, thank you, we really had fun." I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you had fun, because that's what you need to be having at this age anyways. I want to inject more hands-on activities even when they are online. Like, I'm sure their moms are going to have cups in their cabinet. Their moms are going to have spoons in their cabinet. So all those simple things that they could use to do science experiments on their own, all those things that will help them to do like simple experiments at home, like the mirror. For example, when we were teaching optics, we used the mirror to teach optics, and even a glass of water, and just drawing the arrows and seeing that when just showing how refraction works, using paper, a pencil, and a clear glass of water. I mean, we all have that at home. So yes, I'm working towards like having them do more also at home, so that it's not just virtual labs, like online labs, but things that they can do on their kitchen counter at home. Challenge that I see is a challenge is actually why this school was created, which is to follow the students to wherever they are. So now some kids, you give them assignment and they don't do the assignment. Why? Because they're basically in the air. So I now developed alternative means in which, okay, once you let me know that you're not going to be available, then I can give you something else to do. Is like I create crossword puzzle that they can actually, still learn the concept. There are other ways also which I have used is, okay, when you get back, so I don't mark them tardy or absent because it's really no fault of theirs, you know, but I just make sure that the content is learned.
So, Aloka, would you please tell a little about scholarships that we provide this year? Unmute.
Yep. Okay. Everyone, we're welcome everyone to apply for a scholarship. If this is a scholarship that, you know, you think that would be a good fit for you. So there are basically 3 types of scholarships right now. We provide a partial tuition coverage for digital nomads children. So it's kind of digital nomad scholarship. So if you frequently travel, if you relocate a lot during the year, this is one of the scholarships that you can apply to. The second one is it's also a partial one for new immigrant scholarship, and that's a pretty specific one. This one is for families who left Russia recently, who relocated due to the war in Ukraine. This is a very specific one. So if this is your case, you're welcome to apply for this scholarship. And we also have a full tuition coverage scholarship for, it's called an interdisciplinary scholarship. This is meant for students who are demonstrating interest and proficiency in several subjects across the field. So it's not necessarily I'm just interested in math or just interested in history. Like if you really believe that your child's interests are all over the place and are not really definable by, you know, humanities or STEM. So this is a scholarship for these kind of students. We welcome them in the school. We love having those for sure. Feel free to apply for that, and we'll be happy to meet the child and hear about it from them as well. And we also, it's just a thing on the side, I need to mention that we still provide a full tuition coverage for students from Ukraine. Right now, though, I think right now the application for that are closed. Since all the places have already been filled, but this is the other thing that I think just mentioned, we do that too. So,
I mean, I would actually say about the students from Ukraine, we have a wait list currently, but
yep.
You can apply for the wait list if you wish. That's still an option. So yeah, the admission process would be generally pretty simple. First, please, check your eligibility, meaning make sure that your kid is between 10 and say 14 years old. We will be able to teach them for longer, but we would prefer to be accepting students until their age of 14 because, it's hard to prepare students for high school when they reach us at the age of 16. So if this is not the case, if your kid is 15 and you're looking for 1 year program, still feel free to contact us. But if your kid is 18 years old or 5 years old or cannot ever travel anywhere, that might be not a good fit, and let's just make sure that it's all good. Further on, you can fill out the application form on our website. To do so, you can go on Sallay.academy/admissions, and there you can fill in the general admission application form and the scholarship and financial aids application form, if you wish. We, by the way, provide financial aids to, I would say, to a lot of people, and in some significant amounts. So our philosophy is that we are a school that aims to reach those to whom we are a best fit. So it might be that we are a good fit for your kid, but your family situation, your financial situation doesn't allow to cover the full tuition. So please fill in the form, reach out, explain your situation. We are very open. We have a lot of sponsors. We have a lot of people who are receiving financial aids and scholarships, and we will be happy to, help you. So yeah, do this, and then after that we will contact you and we will schedule an interview with your kid. We have two types of interviews. If that's a scholarship interview, then especially if that's an interdisciplinary scholarship, which is a full scholarship interview, then we talk to the kid and try to estimate how good they are as a fit for our school. If not, in all other cases, we interview students for whom English is not their native language, because we want to make sure that they will be able to actually study in English. And finally, for anyone, we just like talking to students before enrolling them, because we like to make sure that they know what they're signing up for, that we can answer their questions and address their possible concerns. And it seems to be very important to us that we establish relationship with students from the very beginning, and not just treating them as an extension of their parents that parents are finding fancy gadget school for. So yeah, that's basically the admissions process. Also, you can sign up for a call with us, with me, with Aloka, or with both, by clicking on the link, schedule a call with admissions. On our website, there is a small button on the bottom right corner, or you can just email us at, say, I think it's admissions@Sallay Academy, or office@Sallay Academy, or yeah, that's it basically. Don't email other people to schedule a call with admissions. Just email admissions. So yeah, that's the whole admissions process. If you are applying for a scholarship or for financial aids, the sooner you apply, the higher your chances of getting it are. So don't wait for ages before doing that. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in chat right now, in comments on any social media right now or later, and we will answer them right now, or we'll be happy to talk to you after.
There is actually a question in the chat.
What's the question?
So the question is it possible to join us during the school year, and when do you start accepting applications for September 2023?
We are accepting applications for September 2023 right now. Go on, send them in. And is it possible to join Sallay during the school year? Yes, of course. I mean, of course. There might be an exception for students who are willing to join Sallay during the school year and graduate on the same year, because that's very short, I would say, term. That becomes a very short-term story, if you see what I mean. But other than that, yes, of course. I mean, people move from countries to countries, people change, have all different reasons to change a school for their kid, and these reasons occur in the middle of school year as well. We have no problems accepting students from the middle of the school year. However, we strongly prefer to have new students join us from the on-site session rather than from the online period. Aloka, do we have any other questions?
I think that's it. That's so far.
Okay. Well, thank you for staying with us for this whole hour, 6 minutes. We enjoyed knowing that you were there listening to us for this whole time. And thank you for watching it. Thank you for watching at the end. I mean, after the event, thank you for watching the recording. I don't know, subscribe to our Facebook, send your kids to our school, write comments, send emojis. No, don't send us any emojis. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions, because we'll be happy to talk. We generally are happy to talk. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.